sail on many a sea, her shores will always be close to me. Oh, island in the sun, built to me by my father's hand, all my days I will sing and praise of your forest waters, your shining sand. As morning breaks the heaven on high, I lift my head, look to the sky. Sun comes down with the burning glow, mingles my sweat with the earth below. Oh, island in the sun, built to me by my father's hand, all my days I will sing and praise of your forest waters, your shining sand. Well, friends, I hope that song by Harry Belafonte brought some joy to your hearts. And with that, I'd like to introduce you to my guest for today, and that is Anuroop Iyengar. Anuroop is the CEO and founder of Cogknit. And Cogknit has this wonderful learning technology platform by the brand name of ICOG. So Anuroop and I are going to be talking about how competency frameworks are really becoming the next big thing as far as learning technology is concerned. So let's listen into the conversation. Good morning, friends. We are at Aero City in Delhi, which is really the business hub of Delhi, and I'm with my dear friend Anuroop Iyengar, who is the founder and CEO of Cogknit. And Cogknit has a very interesting proposition, which also happens to be in the learning technology space, and we are here to actually talk about it. So Anuroop, great to have you with me today in this conversation.
Pleasure, Thomas.
And so I'm really keen to understand a little more, even for the benefit of our viewers, in terms of ICOG. I know it's a learning technology platform, but a little bit about the journey of ICOG till now would be really wonderful.
So, our journey in the LearnTech space started off incidentally in the, directly working with one of India's largest enterprises.
Right.
Most startups, would probably want to do a SaaS version. For us, our good fortune or our challenge, we started our first customer with one of India's largest companies. So we ended up building a enterprise first product.
Right.
So we've been now 3 years in the market, and it's been a great journey. I think we've crossed customer count number 10, all of them large enterprises, and now we're ready to go SaaS and go global with it and apply all the learnings that we've got in the enterprise into our SaaS process.
No, that's really great. So I'm really keen to understand ICOG, some of the differentiators of ICOG, because there are lots of learning platforms out there, LMSs, LXPs. So how are you really differentiating the ICOG offering?
So Thomas, I think in one word, I would want to call it, the answer to that is competencies.
Okay.
ICOG is a competency-driven platform, and so what do we mean by that? Maybe for the benefit of some of our viewers, we need to probably describe that. Yeah. So you have knowledge.
Yeah.
Knowledge, when it's applied over a period of time, becomes skills.
Correct.
And multiple overlapping skills,
right,
which make somebody competent. That's what we want. We want competent people.
Correct.
These overlapping skills are what called competencies. And it has been proven. You speak to HR leaders over the last 30 years, they all agree to you that a competency-based approach, not only applied for learning, but to the entire gamut of HR tech, is what makes a winning proposition for an integrated talent management suite. So ICOG takes competencies and applies deep tech like data science, AI, ML, and a variety of other things to provide a continuous upskilling journey for employees. And most importantly, can we link return on investment to the CFO and the CEO? Because if you go to the CEO or the CFO, you're going to say $100 invested in learning. What did it give back to the enterprise? We are able to give a data linkage between that. That's what we do. I think that's the biggest difference.
So that's quite interesting, because I keep reading about how skills engines, competency frameworks, people say is really the next big thing in learning technology. But how are we really standardizing this? Because organizations would have, firstly, do they have the capability to define competency frameworks in their own organizations? or how are we helping them? So it must be a fairly complex scenario out there. So I'm just trying to understand how you would be able to facilitate this for organizations who perhaps do not have the capability to actually define it for themselves.
Yeah, it's a very interesting question, and also something that we ourselves struggled with for a long time.
Yeah.
Because quite honestly, as you pointed out, most organizations do not have these competency frameworks built in. It's a very costly proposition.
Right.
And there's a very interesting anecdote that I can go back, that of IBM Hexa.
Okay.
It was a company that was building competencies, and IBM acquired them for a very large sum. But today the reality is that they were probably sold for parts.
Right.
The reason for this is the shelf life of skills.
Okay.
So the same role probably requires a different set of skills and capabilities, which was not there even 4 years back.
Right.
So the competency structures which reflect them has to keep changing.
Right.
And what we have done, when we spoke to a variety of organizations, we realized even the large enterprises, they don't have, there's a 28,000 man large manufacturing company in India. Right. 800 different roles.
Okay.
And no competency structures. We have to put it in place for them. Right. And that's when we realized that, forget about small companies, even the big guys are struggling. Right. And that is when what we did, we are working with SSD Singapore, which is the skills department of government of Singapore, EBSCO in Europe. And based on the work of all these things, we have created our own taxonomy structure. But the most important thing is we have open sourced it for the community. So I think that's a very big step. After 4 years of work, we realized that that's the right way to go. Have a community-driven approach where givers gain. You contribute back into the community, you can take back the entire structure and you implement it for your own, for free, the true spirit of open source. And ICOG is the engine which is at the back, truly contributing back to this community. That's what we are doing.
No, I think that's fabulous. That's fabulous because community building so far we've only seen in B2C businesses, we've seen it in DevOps and so on. A lot of open sourcing of technology and other developer tools. But it's actually so refreshing to see there's something happening in the learning tech space. Yep. So that's really fantastic. So finally, Anuroop, I think it's really the desire of every HR tech company from around the world to be in the US because that's really the big market, which is growing so rapidly. There's just so much of innovation happening over there. So it'll be great to really understand your plans for the US market.
So firstly, we were waiting for our SaaS platform to become a reality.
Right.
SaaS today is taken as the default, and especially in the US market, people will not even count it as a technology. They will say that is what is needed. Though SaaS is virtual private cloud. That's what it is. So the first thing is that we have got our SaaS version rolled out with a new international-looking user interface and user experience. And we have our partners Hexa Global Ventures, headed by Louis and Man in Dallas.
Yeah.
So we are, leveraging them as our, what should I say, beachhead or toehold to launch into the US market, along with my own core team, which is going to be based out of Dallas and Montreal.
Right. No, thanks so much, Anuroop. I think that's a great plan that you have for the US because that's really the great opportunity that HR tech companies are looking for. And I think for our viewers, you should really now, a company to watch out for in the HR tech space from India is going to be ICOG. So just keep your eyes glued to figure out what ICOG is now up to. Thank you so much, Anuroop.
Thank you so much.
It was great having a chat with you. Thank you.